According to the New Mexico Department of Workforce Solutions, the unemployment rate among veterans in New Mexico is higher than the state's overall unemployment rate, and over 160,000 veterans currently call the Land of Enchantment home. New Mexico in Focus producer Sarah Gustavus sat down recently with a group of community leaders from local organizations to hear how they are helping veterans adjust to civilian life and look for work.
I'm joined today by Chris Zaffer from the Department of Workforce Solutions. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Also, Richard Koffel from New Mexico Veterans Business Outreach Center. Thank you for being here today. And Terry Armstrong from Goodwill Industries. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Chris, I'd like to start with you. We're going to talk about various programs to help veterans get into jobs, build careers. But let's start with what's at stake. Why do we need specific services for veterans?
Well, that's a good question. Congress has, over the years, found that military members, veterans, and some of their eligible dependents or spouses, when they return back to their communities, they face, challenges transitioning, and one of the challenges is employment. And so Congress, over the years, have established many programs, employment programs, benefits, incentives to the employers to assist with their transition. Obviously, jobs are critical to veterans, to the local economies, and also veterans bring a lot of good qualities and skill sets that employers can benefit from. So essentially that is, the objective is to ensure transition is successful, and everyone benefits from veterans coming back to their communities.
We'll get to those skill sets in just a few minutes, but Richard, are you seeing that as well, that as veterans, especially maybe recent veterans, are coming home and having a tough time finding a job?
Well, it's always been that way for a lot of reasons. One, some employers are actually afraid that the press has published so much information about PTSD. Employers are a little hesitant. So the veterans are challenged when they come back to find that job that they really want. We usually tell veterans at the transition programs, when you get out, take the first job you can. Don't shoot for the moon the first time out. Find a job that'll get you started so you can work your way up and progress. So it's quite a challenge for them.
Did you experience that yourself?
When I came back, I actually retired from the military, so it wasn't that traumatic for me. I decided to stay in the military, make it a career, so when I got out, it was a fairly easy transition. A lot of the troops that I work with, they're getting out after one term, or maybe 6, 8 years. Now they're coming back sometimes from overseas, combat. It's a challenge for them, and then they have to learn how to reintegrate into society again, because the military and civilian, we speak different languages.
Absolutely.
So,
Terry, I want you to speak to that. There's a lot of structure in the military. There's a lot of unknowns and a lot of new things for veterans when they go into the civilian workforce.
I struggled when I got out. It was the transition, as Rich said, from the military being so structured to the civilian world was a bit of a challenge for me. So yes, that's one of the things that we need to help veterans do, is to transition into civilian life and understand how it works as opposed to the military.
Can you give me some specifics? What was it that was challenging?
There was no. I want to go back to structure and commitment and loyalty. That is so common in the military and not necessarily so in the civilian world. There's a chain of command. You know who the boss is, and you know what the rules are, and you're expected to do certain things at particular times. And it's, to me, it worked for me. I liked that. So not having that was probably one of the bigger challenges for me. That structure was tough, and we did things right. We were proud, so incredibly proud, our military people are, of what we do and how we behave. And so there are expectations that don't necessarily exist in the civilian world.
Now, what is Goodwill offering as far as specific services to help veterans with job training right now?
So we have two programs. One is federally funded by the Department of Labor. That's the Homeless Veterans Reintegration Program. That's specifically for homeless veterans who are looking for work. We provide some paid training, but the primary goal is long-term sustainable employment in the community. That's the HVRP program. Then there's the Veteran Family Services Program. That's funded by New Mexico Department, the state program. And that is specifically for families of veterans, which is really helpful. It's an awesome program. This started about a year ago. We're about a year into it, year and a half actually.
Families of veterans, like say wives who've moved around a lot, who haven't been able to build much of a career in that process.
Yeah, yeah.
Chris, want to ask you, you mentioned skills that veterans bring to the table. Tell me a little bit more about that. How do you help them sell themselves and the benefits of what they've learned in their military service?
Yes, we do assist veterans with employment services, and what these services are to get their resumes kind of civilianized, so to speak, and then prep them for the appropriate job interviews, job search. Those are very important skill sets that leading into meeting with employers. That's critical. They have to ensure that what they did in the military translates into the civilian sector or the private sector. Our staff, were able to assist with that process. Now, as far as jobs, we do have or rely on our Workforce Connection. That's part of our Workforce Solutions department. And what's in Workforce Connections are not just veteran staff, but other staff representatives that, based on specific regulations that is in place, they have what you call a priority of service to veterans. So everybody has a stake. They're involved in making sure that veterans that are looking for employment, or spouses or dependents that qualify for the programs, they get these priority of services.
Terry and Richard mentioned their experiences returning from service, getting into the workforce. What did you experience?
Well, similar to Richard, I retired from active duty service. So the transition was not quite as challenging compared to maybe others that may have served one term or two terms. And it also depends on the service. Service has to be factored in as far as maybe, was it on peacetime or during conflict, like we have, we've had the last 16 years. We've had persistent conflict, globally. And so you've got some different dimensions as far as transition. Fortunately for me, my transition was not as challenging. Soon after I retired, that same month I retired, I got to full-time employment. And so that's I consider that as a blessing. Now others, our staff, again, were able to recognize some of the challenges, what unique concerns that veterans or transitioning service members may be experiencing. And so we have to recognize, these experiences and challenges. Some are coming in from overseas.
Yeah.
They're coming in directly from Europe, Asia, and they're coming directly back to our communities with sometimes minimal transition. However, regulation-wise, Congress has ensured that those that are separating, if they're separating less than 20 years active service, they have to at least transition a year out. Those retiring, they have to be provided 24 months transition.
Transition meaning job services, various resources?
Yes.
To make that happen. Now, okay, it seems like you're touching on, even though we don't want judgment of veterans with PTSD, that some veterans might have some real health needs, mental and physical health needs. They need to be taken into consideration in the types of jobs that they're looking for. Is your staff prepared for that?
Yes, good question, because one of our staff, what their sole responsibility is to provide services for veterans with significant barriers to employment. And one of those barriers are disability. And so we have to recognize, some of the things that may affect the veterans entering the workforce. And it could be a disability, it could be housing, and that's why we collaborate with Goodwill and, of course, Veteran Services. We all work as a team collectively, either in government or, nonprofits, but also, employers also. So it's a collaborative effort, and again, our staff can, solely focus on those barriers to employment.
Richard, some veterans may not want to be necessarily looking for a job. They may want to start their own business. How does the National Boots to Business program help them do that here in New Mexico?
Well, the SBA developed the Boots to Business program to go along with the Transition Assistance Program. It's a 2-day workshop, and it touches on things like legal entities, whether you want to be a sole proprietor, limited liability company, or a C Corp or S Corp, whatever you want to be. It also touches on, do you really want to be an entrepreneur? Financing, the legal things like contracting. There's different types of contracting out there. And it also touches on what are the benefits of being a veteran business owner. And the nice thing about the Boots to Business program is once you finish the 2-day program, now it opens up a window for you to take a free 8-week course through Syracuse University. I usually refer to it as like a mini MBA. It really helps prepare the veteran. I've got one veteran that I've worked with that's very successful. He actually went through the Boots to Business program, then he went through a reboot program. And the reboot was designed because when service members get out of the military and no longer have access to a military installation, well, they can't use that service because the Boots to Business is for transitioning service members. So we started a reboot program where we open it up to any veteran or spouse. They can attend it, and we do those off the military installation. And we've had actual business owners come to the reboot as kind of a business refresher. And it just enforces, well, not enforces, but it instills a lot more knowledge on them. And really helps them think about things that, for example, if they originally registered as sole proprietor, maybe they didn't realize the legal entity that's involved, where if you're a sole proprietor and you're ever sued, everything you own is liable. Where if you register as a limited liability company, now only the assets tied to your business are liable. And
Yeah. Any policies that you think would help encourage more entrepreneurship among veterans? There's a training program, but are there resources that are needed to help folks be successful?
well, right now there's a whole multitude of resources. We're actually funded by a grant through the SBA. And we're in partnership with the Small Business Development Centers, the Procurement Technical Assistance Program advisors. They're the ones that work with vets that want to become contractors because it's a very convoluted program to register. There's the SCORE chapters out there. These are retired business professionals. And they donate a lot of their time for mentorship and things like that. And there's a lot of free programs out there to help. And then you've got incubators. For example, West Corporation has a veteran suite that is, it's an office space and computers set aside for veterans that want to conduct business without having their own office. And then there's an incubator in the South Valley at the South Valley Economic Development Center. They have a commercial kitchen. And there's actually been several businesses started out of Albuquerque, nationwide selling, that started at that incubator.
Very interesting, lots of resources out there. Terry, what do you think civilians need to know? Let's end on that. What do civilians need to know about the needs of veterans and where we go moving forward?
I would say, excuse me, is to understand that some veterans are challenged by transition into the civilian workforce. That the needs are different, and people need to be aware of that. And also to understand that veterans come to the table with tools that others may not necessarily have. And that's about the understanding of how important time is, how important it is to work as a team. You're only as strong as your weakest link. Those things are really important. There are a lot of things that veterans have, a lot of qualities that veterans have that can help a business succeed. I think that's really important to know that. And we're proud people. Proud people. I think that that's a quality that veterans is not necessarily just veterans, but it's something that we bring to the table that I think people need to know.
Thank you all for being here today. Really appreciate this view on services available for veterans right now and the needs of veterans in the workforce.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.